Oh, hey, Laura, what you doing?
I'm just checking out this new Mortal Kombat game.
Is it any good?
I don't know. Let's find out.
Choose your champion.
This doesn't seem right.
Why is Mater from Cars 2 in there? And is that Hockey Todd?
You have selected Roddy Gozum. Round 1. Roddy Gozum versus Scorpion.
I don't see this going well at all.
Fight! Get over here!
Or how about you come to me?
Come here!
Why don't you come here?
Get over here!
Fine. How about we meet in the middle?
Excellent. Roddy Gozum wins. Flawless victory. Rationality.
Game is stupid.
Yep.
Round 2. Roddy Gozum versus Amber from Christmas Prince. Fight!
Hell no, I'm out.
Game over! Okay, if you guys were a character in Mortal Kombat, what would your finishing move be?
I would invite everyone to potluck because it means free food.
So you're going the French.
Yeah, totally. And it's a pretty diverse thing, like coming from all areas of like what world was it?
Outworld.
Yeah, so imagine the different types of food that you get to eat in a potluck.
Why, you think the food in Outworld would be appetizing? That place looks like a fucking hellhole.
Well, you know.
It's probably just eating worms and grass.
I am not one to judge on looks.
Okay.
As long they might have some spices that we don't know of.
That's fair.
I think I would just, I'd probably talk to them about Brendan Fraser until they decide to just gouge their eyes out or like anything just to get away from me.
A Fraser-tality.
Yeah, Fraser-tality is what I would go for.
Nice.
I love how they would gouge your eyes out, but they also would still be able to
listen.
listen.
I was just thinking about that. I was like, wait a second. What's the fastest way? Maybe if you bite your own tongue and you bleed out, is that like the fastest?
What, to end yourself if somebody's talking incessantly about...
I know this is weird. This is a weird way to go at the very beginning. But if you want to escape so badly, how do you get out?
I don't know, you just push your fingers so hard into your ears that it pops your brain, maybe?
Oh, that would be a good one.
Oh, wait, what's the goodbye where people don't even notice you're leaving?
An Irish goodbye? Roddy, you are the fucking king of Irish goodbyes. You should know what it's called.
That's
the
true.
amount of times I've seen you slink out of a fucking nightclub, man.
Maybe that's also my like final move. It's just the Irish goodbye where you just don't even know.
You just turn around and walk away. You just walk off screen and like leave them standing there wondering if it was something they said or something they did.
You're like, look over there, and then
you could be like with Laura. You could be like, hey, isn't that Brendan Fraser? And then just slink out.
Oh my god, yeah, tease me like that. That's not fair.
Well, I'll make it worthwhile and actually be Brendan Fraser. So you're mad a bit, but then it's also true.
It's yes. Okay, I'm fine with this.
Megan, you got a finishing move for us?
Awkward segue.
Oh.
Into some bullshit, I don't know, that nobody cares about. Or into something that's completely inappropriate for the conversation.
Nice. I think mine would be to get a VHS of Mortal Kombat Annihilation and just insert it into my opponent's ass and then kick it very hard so that it ruptured their rectal cavity and they bled out that way. Which is kind of almost like what watching this movie feels like, so I don't know. Welcome to Bad With Numbers, a podcast about terrible sequels. I am your host, Neff, joined as always by my wonderful co-hosts, Laura.
Hi.
Roddy.
Ayo.
And Megan.
Hey.
This week on the show, we are talking about Mortal Kombat Annihilation from the year 1997, directed by John R. Leonetti. Holy shit. John R. Leonetti, he's mostly a cinematographer. He's done like a load of movies with James Wan, like he was the cinematographer on Insidious and The Conjuring.
Oh, cool.
But he's also directed a handful of utter clag, including future episode candidate The Butterfly Effect 2.
Didn't know there was a 2. Never saw the first one.
I hate the first one quite passionately, so I can't imagine the sequel's much better. This movie is rocking a mighty 2% score on Rotten Tomatoes, which means it might actually be the lowest scored movie we've done on the show.
Is there anything else that's like lower than that? I mean, of course there probably is.
There's a couple of 0%ers on the potential candidate list, including one that we might be doing this season. Possibly. I don't want to say yet in case I watch it and find out it is literally unwatchable, because
yeah, this is definitely teetering on the non-watchable. So if there's anything lower than that, I think we can just put that to bed right now.
Well, we'll see.
So, like, hot take, I was actually able to watch this, and I didn't think it's bad, but like in an enjoyable way for me.
Just to clarify for the listener, Roddy got his second vaccine shot yesterday, and I think he may be delusional because holy shit, dude.
He's delirious.
Wow.
With
It is true, I was watching it with the side effects.
Yeah, man, maybe you were just watching a completely different movie. Were you guys familiar with the first Mortal Kombat movie?
Yes.
I think there was a VHS that we just watched frequently.
Same. I saw this movie, the original, a lot on VHS. I kind of like that original movie. I mean, we'll get into it in a minute, but I watched it again this week, and it holds up. I mean, look, okay, this is a video game movie, right? And it's super easy to wail on video game movies because the majority of them are just terrible.
Yeah.
But I kind of advocate for some of them that get a rough time. I feel like the Silent Hill movie is actually pretty faithful in terms of like tone to the games.
The first one, right?
Yeah, the first one. No, not the sequel.
Okay.
The sequel
Just checking in there.
Well, good old Scene Bean.
It's got Scene Bean in it.
Yeah.
Running around screaming for his wife.
Weirdly enough, one of the only ones that he's alive in the end.
That's right.
Spoiler alert.
He kind of makes it out of that movie unscathed. In fact, he doesn't even really run into any of like the Silent Hill kind of shit. That's all down to like Radha Mitchell's character in that movie. You've got Pyramid Head running around skinning people in that movie. It's kind of cool.
It was really well done, and like I found that it's a good balance of super fucking creepy, really awful, and like I don't know, charming. I don't know what that is. It's just a staple for me now whenever I go to anywhere that's foggy, where I'm driving through the mist and everything, and it's going to Silent Hill. It just I don't know.
Yeah, it nails the tone of the game pretty well, I think. So.
But I think that's the only one I could actually advocate for, because I can't think of Prince of Persia's bad. Tomb Raider, one of them is fine.
Yeah, the first Tomb Raider is fine. I think there's one that like doesn't get as much word of mouth, or maybe it doesn't. I don't know, and I don't know that area of the internet. Dead or Alive.
Dead or Alive is kind of fun. I saw that in theaters.
Yeah.
I just remember it being lovely ladies kicking each other, which I was fucking fine with. You know, that's what the game is, right? So
I'm fond of the Ace Attorney movie, the one directed by Takashi Miike.
Oh, nice. I never saw that.
It's wild. Oh my god. It's basically the story of the first case of the game, like the original game, but it's just so silly. And I love it.
It's probably one of like 700 movies that Takashi Miike made that year, because that dude is prolific. He makes a lot of movies. I don't know, like the Double Dragon movie is so bad it's actually kind of enjoyable. That was an early doors video game adaptation. I think that was before even Mortal Kombat. I really like the first Resident Evil movie, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, who made the first Mortal Kombat movie as well. I'm not such a fan of the sequels because there are 6 of those movies, might I add. But I think like people give it shit because it's kind of nonsensical and the plot's all over the place. But that's exactly what those games are as well. I mean, have you ever tried to follow the plot of a fucking Resident Evil game? They are nuts.
Yeah.
Well, the newer ones are pretty good, but still.
The only experience I have of any Resident Evil game post Resident Evil 6 is watching you, Laura, play Resident Evil 7 in your basement, I think, or maybe it was Cohen's basement.
Yeah.
And just feeling quite uneasy watching you play. I don't cope well with horror video games. I can watch horror movies till the cows come home, but when you actually place me as the person responsible for actions inside something like that, I just lose my shit and can't do it. I just freak out.
You have to do a technique when you play those games where you just increase the brightness of the TV.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, and just dial down the volume markedly as well, right?
Or you just like scream as you go through the level.
I think Resident Evil 7 had one of my favorite downloadable content parts ever, where you get to play as one of the uncles, and you go through and you can just punch things.
Okay, that's more my speed, I think.
Yeah, instead of using a gun, you just go out and you just punch monsters in the face as you're trying to find your family.
I think 2 had that thing that you could unlock where you could play the entire game as a block of tofu.
Yes, that's right, you could.
For those who don't know, I had to write for a mobile adaptation of Resident Evil 2 way back in the day when flip phones had games on them and it had to be under 500K. I'm showing my age with this one. And I ended up reading this massive document that I think it was just around the time 4 came out, and it explained the story of the games all the way up until 4. It included like the Game Boy game and like the deadly some deadly missions or some of the side games and stuff. And like this document was fucking massive, but the narrative was just the same thing over and over again.
That is so cool.
I mean, the lore for those games is pretty deep at this point. I mean, they're like, 8 games into the main series and then countless spin-offs like those Survivor games and stuff. Anyway, the first Resident Evil movie, I think, like, originally George Romero was meant to do that movie, and it would have been a very different film. I think it would have been a much more kind of horror-based movie, but I kind of like the Paul W.S. Anderson one. I think, look, that guy gets a lot of shit as a filmmaker. I've met that dude. He is a really nice guy. But the point is he gets a lot of shit for making these kind of hollow blockbusters, but a good chunk of them are actually pretty entertaining. I mean, that Monster Hunter movie that came out last year is one of his, and again, it's actually a pretty decent video game adaptation. I had fun watching that movie.
Just never watch anything by Bowell. What's his face? What's that guy? Right? You know what I'm talking about.
Uwe Boll.
We could be here all night talking about Uwe Boll's fucking video game adaptations because he did House of the Dead and Alone in the Dark back to back, and they are 2 of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I mean, Alone in the Dark is not a great video game either.
No, it's not. And it's weird that ended up... I mean, the first Alone in the Dark game came out in like 1992, and then for some reason in 2005 they thought it was like a prime candidate to make a movie.
Yeah. Starring
Christian Slater and Tara Reid. Tara Reid playing a scientist in that one, might I add, which is a big enough stretch as it is. But,
what the fuck?
You just like put glasses. I love how that's how most movies think a scientist is. They have she has glasses in it, right? I swear she has glasses.
I'm 99% certain she wears glasses. And look, hey, I'm not being disparaging to Tara Reid's intellect. She might be a fucking rocket scientist for all I know. But it's a hard stretch for me to believe that she's a scientist in that movie, because that movie fucking sucks.
But was it worse than Annihilation?
Well, let's get into that. I mean, before we get into the movie, let's do a little background on Mortal Kombat as a franchise. The game started development in 1991. Originally, the makers of it were meant to be working on an adaptation of the Van Damme movie Universal Soldier. Underrated movie. Love Universal Soldier. Sequel sucks. Might be an episode. But basically that kind of got shit canned, and they sort of glommed onto the success of Street Fighter 2, which was just blowing up at the time, and decided to create a beat 'em up that used digitized actors instead of sprites for its characters. Side note, Van Damme ended up in that Street Fighter movie a mere 3 years later, so it's all connected.
So did Kylie Minogue. That's not really connected, but I appreciate Kylie Minogue.
Yes, we all do.
Yeah. I mean, that Street Fighter movie, again, we didn't talk about it when we were talking about video game movies a minute ago. That Street Fighter movie, kind of terrible, but also features the single best line of dialogue in a video game movie by Raul Julia.
For you, the day bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday.
Yeah, so like Mortal Kombat's a huge hit in the arcades. It gets ported to all of the home consoles. And it's kind of popular because it has like a really sort of healthy dose of bloody mayhem and like gruesome finishing moves that people hadn't seen in those kind of beat 'em ups before. But that also made it a scapegoat for a lot of the discourse that was happening at the time about video game violence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Always.
Has anybody played Night Trap?
Oh! Walk out behind you, Night Trap.
Yeah. That game came out in like 92, 93.
Holy
and
shit.
they tried to ban it in the UK because they were so worried about like the moral panic it was going to create. They remastered that thing a few years ago and released it, and I played it, and it is the tamest shit ever. It's like,
it really is.
Oh yeah, it's the one with FMV.
Yeah, you're supposed to stop the intruders from getting to a sleepover party?
It's a slumber party, yeah. And there's these dudes dressed up like they're dressed up in pajamas basically with like balaclavas on. They're supposed to be vampires, but holy shit, it's just one of the dumbest games ever.
It looks like a video board game that somebody slammed together as a video game instead.
Mm-hmm.
But what was up with the moral or panic? Because I can see like Mortal Kombat, it's pretty gory, and like for me, the moral panic of the game that caused the most moral panic was GTA 3 when that came out, and I could understand from like a parent perspective why they would freak.
I talk to parents all the time about video games and the different I have to have the conversation every day of GTA versus Call of Duty versus Mortal Kombat. And the list on the back of the case is very different. And I said, you're going to have different feelings on whatever. But, I'm not here to judge your choices. I'm here to educate you and, maybe say that you should be watching what your kids are doing. So Mortal Kombat nowadays, fucking rough. I'm just watching a bunch of fatalities from Mortal Kombat 11, and they are great. Like, Melina, at some point, she reaches through your stomach and up your spinal column, pulls out your face from the inside, and then rips it out. Like,
sure.
What is happening? But honestly, when it comes to just Night Trap, it was, what was it? Like, worried about break-ins and burglaries and them thinking it's easy? Or
I think it kind of just became a scapegoat because it was one of the first games to use full motion video.
Yeah.
And people were worried that it was kind of, our kids are going to think this is real or whatever. And it just kind of, I mean, look, that game had like a certificate slapped on it in the UK to stop young people playing it. Mm-hmm. But it didn't stop like all the newspapers jumping on it the same way as they did about like video nasties, the same way they did about like horror movies in the early 90s, and movie violence just became, they love to have a good fucking debate about media and its effects on people when really there's no proven fucking effect of it, but whatever. I don't know. With Night Trap, it felt like it was very much a scapegoat because it was a big title at the time.
Yeah, because that's the thing is I can actually see Mortal Kombat, like Roddy's saying, being, it's violent, it's rough. You beat people up, and that's the way that it is. But yeah, Night Trap was an interesting choice.
Sure, and that first Mortal Kombat game on Super Nintendo didn't even have, like, gore in it. They removed it. It was on the Genesis / Mega Drive version, but Nintendo refused to let them put the blood. I mean, they kind of wheeled that back for the second game, but for that first game, it was like, and there was always, like, the rumor going around that, like, some kid had the cheat code for the Super Nintendo one that enabled the blood, but it didn't exist. It was like no such thing. But
that's always how it goes.
I was thinking of the Wii like fit in the boxing. Imagine if they did like a Mortal Kombat version where it's like, ooh. I wonder how that would be. It's like first person. Ooh, I don't know. Never mind. First person fatality would be frightening.
I have games, not Mortal Kombat specifically, but there are games like that in VR now. You can get them on the PlayStation VR. You can get them on like Oculus and whatever the Steam VR thing is called, where you're literally going hand to hand with people with weapons or whatnot. I mean, I've got one called Gorn that I used to play quite a lot that is just you in like a gladiator arena with a handful of weapons, basically lopping people's heads off, cutting limbs off, throwing bodies at other people. It's kind of wild.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, okay, let's go play Gorn. Let's all come to my place and play Gorn. We're all vaxxed. We can play Gorn now.
Yeah.
Anyway, So basically, because the first Mortal Kombat is such a huge hit, New Line Cinema decides to snap up the rights to a movie adaptation, and they hire the aforementioned Paul W.S. Anderson, who was a young British director at the time. His debut movie, Shopping, was getting him some attention. Shopping's kind of a weird one. It's not a great movie. It does feature a really young Jude Law in like the lead performance, so it was kind of one of his first movies. But it was definitely a different kind of film from what the UK was sort of making at the time. It's a very kind of energetic movie about joyriding. It's got car chases and stuff in it. The only thing that lets it down is the fact it had like literally no budget, so it feels kind of cheap for the most part. But it was definitely like against the grain of what British cinema was doing at the time, when it was kind of pumping out movies like Howard's End and all like the Merchant Ivory stuff. But anyway, Shopping turns enough heads in Hollywood for him to get the Mortal Kombat gig, and sure enough, movie comes out summer 1995, and it's a surprise hit. Like people were writing off video game movies already because that Mario Brothers movie had come out like 2 years before.
Classic.
And that thing was just a huge bomb. Like it was positioned as being one of the big movies of summer 93, and it just fucking tanked, and everybody hated it.
Hot question. A part of me thinks, like, I don't know if I would like it as much, but, like, say, for example, the Mortal Kombat theme song didn't exist and it was a shittier song. Would this movie be as good and as, like, because that song makes this movie.
Absolutely not.
And it's only in it, like, twice.
3 times.
Beginning and near the end. What? Oh, 3
wait,
times.
are you guys talking about in Annihilation or in the first one? Because in the first
Annihilation.
In the first one, the moment that somebody screams Mortal Kombat over the New Line logo, I remember sitting in the movie theater and going, yes.
Yeah, it was like uproarious. It's like, it's one of the ones where like, I would go back in time to like watch it just to hear everyone's reaction to, would it be the first time they would hear that song? Was it in the trailer? Like, I don't even know. Like, this song is like on point.
I think it may have been in the trailer. I mean, it's kind of in the fogs of time in my memory, whether it was in the trailer or not. But it's kind of like it's a remix that they use in the movie by Utah Saints, or like a legendary UK dance band. And even hearing it at the start of Annihilation, just for the first kind of like few bars of that kind of like techno theme, I was on board. I was like, yeah, I love this. I love hearing that. It just gets me pumped. I really like that kind of somebody just screaming Mortal Kombat and then the synths just crashing in like that. It's really cool. But anyway, no, another song, worst movie.
Mm-hmm.
As well. I guess it goes to show, like, sometimes the soundtrack really makes a movie.
Oh, I would say it really affects the movie.
Sure. So yeah, it's a big hit, and they immediately greenlight a sequel. They shoot this sequel in early 1996, but it doesn't come out in theaters until October 1997. So either that post-production period was super long, or the studio didn't have much confidence in it. It doesn't help that they lost 3 of their main actors from the first movie. We've got no Christopher Lambert playing Raiden. We get James Remar instead. We'll fucking get to him in a minute. They lost Bridget Wilson as Sonya Blade because she decided she wanted to do I Know What You Did Last Summer instead. I mean, Bridget Wilson, kind of like her in Billy Madison as like the love interest in that movie, but she's not the greatest of actresses. It is telling when your movie is lacking some Bridget Wilson in it. And they lost Lyndon Ashby as Johnny Cage as well. He was kind of fairly charismatic in that first movie.
Yeah, it took me a while when I was watching Annihilation. I was like, wait, something's really off here. I'm so confused. And then I started like researching why. And like for the guy who played Johnny Cage, apparently he read the script and was like, screw this. I'm not taking any part in this for a character that this is what you're going to do to him. So bye-bye. So like it makes total sense.
He pieces out early in this fucking movie.
Oh yeah.
I'd also be pissed. Actually, I was pissed that Johnny wasn't in this one. Like, I feel as though Johnny Cage is such a cool character, and he's just, I don't know, he's one of those dude bros, but I really want a beer with him.
He's like the charisma. Like, that's the only thing. Like, after a while, I started watching this movie, and like, I had a good time, but it was mostly because I was just like making fun of it as I went, or like just kind of picking it apart. Because like, even having Liu Kang, the main guy, is the most frustrating watch of all time. Because like, he makes, like, there's so many points in this movie where he'll be like, oh, screw this, this was a waste of time, and my back of my hand's like, okay, all right, what's your alternative plan? You have no alternative plan, so like, be quiet.
Yeah, man, if you're not part of the fucking solution, you're part of the problem, right? And that's Liu Kang all the way through this movie.
Yes, he's just annoying.
Yeah, like, I mean, we'll get into it. Let's do the box office for this fucking thing first. So this movie opens on the 21st of October 1997 to universally bad reviews. Like I said, 2% on Rotten Tomatoes, but once again proving that nobody listens to reviews, even though they should. It debuts at number 1 with 16 million for the weekend. Not a bad chunk of change for 1997. Number 2 that weekend is Fox's Anastasia.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
I have no idea what that is. I mean, I guess it's about Anastasia, but I've never seen this movie. I don't think I have any awareness.
I think that's a Don Bluth film, isn't it?
Oh, okay. So it's like late stage Don Bluth, I guess.
Don Bluth desperately trying to regain some cred after a string of movies.
Sure. I mean, it did like 14 million this weekend, so I guess people were into it, right? Like,
also, it had like this is what it goes back to music. It had like also like a hot tune of like Journey to the Past. Like, again, it's one of those songs that if you start singing, you'll like get to figure out who's the same age as you.
that one totally passed me by. Maybe I think it must have come out like when I was too old to be given a shit about cartoon movies, but also my daughter was probably too young to go see it in theaters, so it kind of falls in that crack there, yeah.
I grew up with that.
Pretty sure I've seen it, but I remember nothing about it.
It's also a musical now, so like on Broadway. So yeah, Mortal Kombat Broadway. Sorry.
I kind of want to see that.
It's gonna be like Evil Dead, where there's like a splatter zone. Oh my god!
Oh, Evil Dead the musical was so much fun.
I never got to see it. It played in Toronto a couple of years ago, and I fucking missed out on tickets to it. But yeah.
All right, guys, let's find a composer and make Mortal Kombat the musical happen.
Let's do it.
Yeah, like like plot. Who needs it? It's just all about the spectacle.
Yeah, I just really like the idea that they say words and then they all just do an a cappella version of the Mortal Kombat theme as they're fighting.
Nice.
Yeah. That's all I can think of.
Number 3 that weekend is The Rainmaker, Francis Ford Coppola movie starring a pre-fame Matt Damon in its lead. Again, it's based on John Grisham. I didn't see it. I don't know. Kind of like I tapped out of John Grisham movies by that point. Anybody see The Rainmaker?
No, but it reminds me to that Team America Police and Matt Damon. That's how I think of him most of the time now.
That's cold on Matt Damon, man. But also totally understandable. I kind of feel like Trey Parker and Matt Stone have got a lot to answer for in Matt Damon's case. He's been tarred with that brush forever. Number 4 that weekend is The Jackal, starring Bruce Willis and Richard Gere in a remake of The Day of the Jackal. Megan, I know you've seen this one because we've talked about this one.
I just found it very unsettling. I don't like seeing Bruce Willis playing a villain. When Bruce Willis plays a villain, he plays villain.
Like, there's that scene in that movie where he blows Jack Black's arm off with like a high-pressure cannon, and it's kind of wild.
I watched that as a child and remember it.
It's very violent.
It's very violent, and it also has Richard Gere doing one of the worst Irish accents this side of Justin Theroux in Full Throttle. It's not good.
And pretending to be a former IRA guy.
Yeah, and I mean that in itself is problematic, okay? When you make your hero I mean there was a bunch of movies around that time that positioned and like regardless of what your political stance is on like the IRA and the Troubles, I kind of feel like between that and that Brad Pitt movie where he played an IRA terrorist, I think it was The Devil's Own, questionable understanding of Hollywood of what was a very complicated fucking situation.
Yeah.
Number 5 that weekend, on a completely different tone, it was a reissue of The Little Mermaid. Woo! This must have been one of the last times that Disney reissued a movie, because I guess DVD was kind of coming into people's homes at this point, and they kind of stopped reissuing stuff after that.
Really? Or was it Laserdisc?
No, DVDs were around in the mid-90s.
Yeah, 97 would have been the kind of like beginning of DVD.
Do you guys ever have that family member that like is so always flaunting their technology? Because I had one uncle that like when the Laserdisc came out, I remember just having to spend 30 minutes just watching him show the gigantic disc and putting it into the console or the device. I was like, what is this life?
I don't have that member of my family because I am that member of my family. Like when fucking 4K came around, I was like, oh my god, look how good Logan looks in 4K. You can see the bristles on his sideburns. It's so good.
Oh wait, did you watch this movie in 4K? Because the thing is though, like the graphics are so bad on this, so like I wonder how it would look in 4K.
No, there's not a 4K print of this one, thank fuck, because it would have probably burned my eyes out.
I would have loved to see that final fight between that dragon and that intestine monster.
God,
in 4K.
Yeah.
In 4K.
What is this?
It would look like a cutscene from the PS1.
Yeah.
I think it looks worse than a PS1 cutscene.
I was gonna say, I think the PS1 could.
Yeah, so Little Mermaid, You guys love The Little Mermaid, right? Who doesn't love The Little Mermaid?
Love it.
She's adorable. She wants to be where the people are, you know. All right, that was the box office for this weekend. Let's get into this fucking shit show of a film. So yeah, I mean, this movie picks up right where the first movie ends, except they've kind of swapped out 80% of the actors from the first movie. And basically it starts with Emperor Shao Kahn, invading Earth and telling our heroes that the consequences of the first movie mean nothing and that he's still gonna take over the planet. This scene happens with a lot more urgency in the first movie. Here they're just kind of standing around for a couple of minutes watching things fall over.
Yeah, so when you were watching it, did you in your head think that Shao Kahn? What's his name? How do you say it? Shao Kahn.
Yeah, Shao Kahn.
Shao Kahn. I didn't like a part of me that kind of threw me off was like, is he like Roman Catholic? Because he started like quoting like the 6 days of like creation, and I was like, what?
Oh yeah,
I was like so confused because a part of me was like, is that like a Roman Catholic thing? Because then like, why is he quoting that if he's from the other world? Did he study the religions? Like
maybe. I mean, this is the whole thrust of the movie is they have like 7 days to save the world, which is a ridiculous time frame, man. If you need to take over a planet, you don't announce it 7 days in advance. You just fucking do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's how when I started that was my frame of mind coming in this movie, where like he first just starts quoting like the Bible, I think, and like, oh, okay, that makes no logical sense. So this movie will just be illogical for like 90 minutes. All right, I know what I'm getting into now.
This Shao Kahn character, I mean, he's meant to be like the Emperor of Outworld. At the end of the first movie, he's like a cool sort of imposed special effect, and he's kind of like, he turns up and says, oh, your world is mine, and then Christopher Lambert's Raiden is like, I don't think so, and the movie ends, and I'm like, oh, cool. Here he is just a dude in a mask with a stupid fucking voice. This guy is played by an actor called Brian Thompson. He is in all kinds of DTV dreck, but he was also one of the punks that Arnie kills at the start of Terminator to steal their clothes. So he's not like done completely random movies. He is in stuff. He looks like Vin Diesel, like the Dollarama Vin Diesel. Let's call him Bin Diesel.
Yeah.
And he delivers most of his lines like Ron Burgundy. He's just like fucking shouting all of the time.
Yeah, why?
Well, like first off too, like he's supposed to be this threatening villain, but one thing I couldn't get over is that the fact that his mask doesn't at all look like actual bones. It literally looked like he went to like whatever like Halloween Spirit and just like picked it up and put it on. Also, like when you realize his main arc is that he has daddy issues, I was like, what is this?
Oh my god. Yeah. No, and he's just like looking to his dad for any kind of like, good job, son. At the jumping ahead a little bit, when he finally does good, he looks at his dad and his dad's slowly nodding. I was just like, do I feel good? Is this warm?
No,
yeah.
Like
am I proud of him also?
When I was watching this, I was like, I guess the moral of the story is that dads should say I love you to their son. That's like,
yeah, Dad, are you listening?
That's what I got from Mortal Kombat Annihilation, that touching message.
Mm-hmm. If you don't want your kid to be stupid Shao Kahn, then make sure you tell them you love them.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the best takeaway you're going to get from this movie, because holy fuck, there ain't a lot of subtext going on here. Yeah, we get James Remar replacing Christopher Lambert as Raiden, and look, I like Christopher Lambert. I think he's a fucking charismatic guy in movies. He's been in a lot of iffy movies, but he's still kind of like a fairly likable screen presence. James Remar, who was in The Warriors, and he played like Harry Morgan on Dexter, so he, you know, he's got a pretty solid body of work behind him. Yep. He is just an absolute blank in this film. He's literally reading these lines off a fucking cue card. It's like a bad SNL sketch.
Yeah.
I was wondering, because you know what, as I was watching this, I didn't know that everything was recast. It's been a long time since I've seen the original Mortal Kombat. And I just remember staring at Raiden and just thinking, has he always been like this? Because I don't remember Raiden being such a tool.
No, Lambert is he's kind of charming in the first movie. Yeah. He's kind of like winking at the camera for quite a lot of the movie. Remar here is just playing this like a plank of wood. I've seen him be good in stuff, but I just can't get my head around how bad he is in this film.
Yeah, I watched it with Brian, and Brian was like, why is Christopher Lambert's accent different? I'm like, that's not Christopher Lambert.
Okay, like, then you gotta give props to the casting where like it actually made if you haven't watched it in a while, you actually go like, is that the same person? So like, you know what? They casted like well enough to confuse an audience.
I don't know, man. I mean, maybe I've just seen Highlander too many fucking times, but there ain't no way I'm confusing Christopher Lambert and James Remar. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I recognized him immediately because I watched all seasons of Dexter, so I was like,
yeah, me too. For my sins.
Dexter's dad. And he's not playing a cop in this one. Wait, what else did... There was another movie that we covered that had him playing a cop. Which one was it?
He's in fucking Blade Trinity. Of course, he's a cop in Blade Trinity.
Yes.
Oh, well, welcome back to the show, James Remar. Completely fucking forgot he's in that movie as well. I mean, he's better in Blade... He's in like one scene or two scenes in Blade Trinity. Better than he is in the entirety of this fucking movie in that one.
Yeah.
No, when they kind of like do the whole thing where like they show each and every villain and they come into like, first off, in order to, as part of the audition, it's clearly having to do a somersault because that's the only way you can enter a frame or enter a scene is through a somersaults.
Nobody can jump at all in this movie. Everybody has to somersault.
Lots of wires. All wires.
It's like it's its own drinking game. Like a part of me, like when I was watching, I was like, "Yo, this is like a fun drinking game." Because like even in the final battle, the somersault makes an appearance, and I was like, "Yeah, this is what this movie is. It's just fighting via somersaults and entering via somersaults." I think
that's the most faithful bit of this in terms of the game because nobody in the game can just jump either. Everybody has to be like flip flopping through the fucking air. So
and posing like mad. Like when they all come in, like Sindel and all of them, they're like having to have this like superhero pose and stand in a perfect way.
Yeah, I mean, oh man, like the fight choreography in this movie is
so bad,
subpar, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everything is subpar in this movie, but this thing actually looks like kids in a playground playing Mortal Kombat.
I thought it got worse as it went, but there were some earlier fights that were like, oh, okay, you're like trying something, and I could appreciate that.
You think?
Yeah, like it tried to kind of incorporate some of the moves. Like I laughed when they used that sound bite. To be like, hey, remember this is an actual move in the game.
Yeah.
Because like I used that so much as a kid. I was like I think I would choose his character just because I could teleport. And that move was the most annoying move ever.
When Scorpion showed up though, or like when I guess oh gosh, I'm blanking. Sub-Zero. When Sub-Zero showed up, I was just like, oh shit. And then when Scorpion showed up, I was like, oh shit.
Get over here!
And then I was severely disappointed in both of my boys. It's just, how could you?
Yeah, they both get short shrift in this one. Johnny Cage checks out of this movie precisely 6 minutes in.
Sad.
Good for you, Johnny Cage. Good for you, because I wouldn't want to be in this turd either. But
he gets his sunglasses smacked off of his face.
So sad.
Got to use his finishing move though.
He gets to do like the shadow kick move, but then nobody seems particularly bothered that he's gone apart from Sonya. Like, everybody else is just kind of like, man, whatever. He literally just saved the world like 10 minutes ago, and still nobody seems to give a shit that this dude like pieces out so quickly.
Yeah, I will say that this is kind of my least favorite thing in like writing, one to establish stakes and like, oh, this enemy is really bad, as they just go straight to like killing someone off to see how threatening they are.
Yeah, it's cheap.
Yeah, and then what was worse so too is that they chose Johnny Cage, which technically I feel like was kind of almost like the heart of like the first movie, and like he provides a lot of the comedy, and when you take that out of the movie from the beginning, it's just like there's not really anything to lighten it up except for just making fun of how bad it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they changed the script after Lyndon Ashby quit and didn't want to do the movie, or did he quit because they killed him off so early?
He quit because like I was reading an article and he quit because he read it and saw what they were doing with the character, and I was like, screw this. I was like, you know what, that makes sense. Like, why would I sign up for just that one scene that like you worked really hard to perform, you know, like create something of that character, and they just like throw you out for this like pointless scene that was just, again, just to make Shao Kahn this little just temper tantrum man boy like threatening.
I mean, smart move, Lyndon Ashby. He's gone on to do
Styles' dad in Teen Wolf.
I mean, I was literally about to make a joke about he's gone on to do nothing, and you kind of trumped me. I didn't even know he was on that Teen Wolf show, but yeah, I mean, hey, look,
6 seasons, that's a lot of good cash.
Raking in that MTV money. I love, and by that I mean I hate, these hamster balls that our heroes are using to get around the Earth's core. They're kind of like traveling around in pairs in these fucking hamster balls. It is the stupidest shit imaginable.
The reason for this is because they can't use portals, they have to use the velospheres to get around.
Wait, do they explain why they actually explain that they can't use portals?
Because I think, this is I don't know how I caught this, but like I think using the portals I think allows accesses, or like could be like because Shao Kahn has control of it, so they can't use it, so they have to rely on this old school way.
Oh my god, I missed that.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like I don't know how somehow having vaccination made me more in tune with the details of this movie.
Reminds me of the tubes from Odd Squad.
Oh yeah. Well, it's kind of like if you're trying to do another reference, is like it's almost like Futurama with the whole like mail scene, and you put the tube in and it goes like this random compartments. But also, it makes no sense in a way where like there's this one scene where Kitana and Liu Kang are like, "Oh, we're heading the overpass. Make a hard right." I was like, okay. Kitana obviously knows how to use the system, but Sonya Blade on her own, all these people, like, how the hell? There's no directions, and like you're going over lava. So like, how the hell do you figure this route out? There's nothing. Like, and like it's just not explained, because that in itself, if this was the TV series, they would spend a whole episode trying to explain how the hell to use these velospheres, because it's overtly complicated.
Yeah, I mean, definitely one of my favorite parts of the game was when you had to pretend to be a hamster to get to the next level. Oh no, wait, that doesn't happen at all. So what the fuck is this doing in this movie? It's just so weird.
Oh, it's like being in a giant pinball machine.
Yeah.
That's why this movie made me laugh, and I started enjoying it more when you kind of pointed out the things where like they're self-aware, or probably not even self-aware, because there's a line they're like, they go so fast that it feels like you're not even moving. I was like, is that just to explain that when you go and do the CG portion that they're not moving because you can't really get the feel of it? So it almost was explaining their like lack of production.
Oh yeah, man, they're making excuses left, right, and center through this movie. This movie like legit looks like a fan film, right? It looks like somebody shot a fan film of the first movie.
How dare you? There was actually a fan film that like was like did really well. So like
fair enough. I mean, I'm not well versed in like the fan film world.
The fan film had like legit like actors in it, like well-known names.
But I mean, this feels like they tricked the two actors from the first movie that sort of carried over, Robin Shou as Liu Kang and Talisa Soto as Kitana. It feels like they somehow tricked them into appearing in it. And then I just wonder if like some New Line executive was at like one of these memorabilia fairs or something, and the director had like a stand and he was playing this on a VHS, and the New Line guys just like, this is great, we're just going to buy this and put this out in theaters. You know, we don't need to actually bother putting any money or effort or thought into this fucking film.
Art production wise, like I felt like there was a lot of like, because there's like it felt like they were trying to like make a stage battle for each scene. Like you got the lab scene, I hated the scene because it felt like an excuse for just to have two women mud wrestling, but you got like the mud wrestling scene, and then like
you look good in mud, Sonya.
I was like, yep, mud wrestling. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, and did anybody notice that, like, all right, she kind of, after that mud wrestling fight, she kind of goes, I need to go find a river, and then literally the next shot we see of her, she is like fucking
pristine,
whiter than Macklemore. It's like, what the fuck? It's insane.
That's why I find that so hilarious, because they're like, how do you explain the other scenes in the movie where she's not dirty? Well, we'll just throw in a line where she'll just go to a river. Oh, perfect. The audience will not expect a thing.
Was it like a river of Tide or something that she was fucking washing in? Because that tank top she's wearing should not be that white. I don't care.
Yeah.
On another note, would you trust your life to Liu Kang? Because I wouldn't. Because, like, he is the worst. You get to look over Kitana and, like seconds and she's gone. I was like, okay, you're the worst.
Yeah. I'm not going to lose you too.
I won't let anything happen to you.
He lets her get pinched very quickly in this movie.
Boom, gone.
Yeah, we get this fight scene where Sub-Zero shows up and he can fly like Superman, and apparently he's a good guy now, but no, wait, it's Sub-Zero's little brother, so I guess he's Substandard Zero. He kind of looks a bit like Justin Long when he takes this mask off.
You're right, actually, with the scar for some reason.
Did it have to do with like the lore? Because like a lot of these people that feature in this movie were from like a particular Mortal Kombat 2, 3?
It was 3 and a bit of 4.
So yeah, like they were making it, like I remember seeing the guy Sub-Zero with the eye scar. Like I remember seeing him in the game that I played. So I was like, oh, okay, I guess he's the little brother, and we don't need to explain anything after that because he won't appear ever again in this movie, which is essentially what happens to everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not fully versed on Mortal Kombat Kombat lore because I fucking gave up on this game series after the second game and then didn't jump back in until they did kind of like the later ones when they started bringing in the DC universe, and then they started having like Freddy Krueger as a fucking DLC character and stuff, which is just dumb as all hell, but also kind of fun, I guess. Everything in this movie looks plastic, by the way. Like, there's so much plastic in this movie.
Yep.
It's insane. All the costumes just look super plasticky.
Yeah, I agree. Because there was, like, the robots, and I was like, no, they're supposed to be metal, right? Because, like, the armor straight up looks like if you like tap on it, it's like that plastically sound.
Yeah, there's so many robots in this film as well. Why is everybody in this movie a robot? I don't know.
Because like that's the whole Mortal Kombat thing where like to get more characters you just reskin them in a different color.
Yeah, true. It's like the whole Reptile was just a reskinned version of Scorpion and Sub-Zero, right? Sonya Blade's hamster ball like takes her to Hawaii, which is nice. You know, like, okay, so if you guys had one of these hamster balls, where are you going in it, given that you can travel to anywhere on the planet, apparently?
I'd go to Japan.
You would have to ask yourself, who would you be comfortable with being that close with? And also trust to like turn her hard right, otherwise you'd fall into lava and die.
That's a good point. I ain't trusting anybody. I'm a control freak. I don't want anybody trying to make those decisions for me. I'm just gonna do that solo.
Yeah, that's fair. See, my logic was that I would also either go to Orlando, just because I frequent there a lot, so having a tube would be convenient. However, the flight prices are cheaper to Orlando than they are Japan, so...
Also, you're using a Velosphere. I don't think they charge.
Exactly. See? So
yeah, this is a terrible business model that they've set up here.
Did you imagine? Like that's how they start the movie for the scene. We're like, ticket, please. Like there's like a charge that they pay. Liu Kang whips out his credit card, charges it, or maybe Raiden's like the one that's nice enough to like pay for everybody.
Yeah, Raiden's paying for them all to fly economy, but Raiden's going in like business class Velospheres.
What's that? What's a business class Velosphere? Like more legroom in that kind of hamster ball?
Yeah, it's just a slightly bigger hamster ball.
They get complimentary wine.
Yeah, mini fridge.
The in-flight choice of movies is slightly better. Like you get to watch Mortal Kombat 1 instead of Mortal Kombat 2. I don't know.
I would go to New Zealand.
Oh, New Zealand, nice. Yeah. Hell, I mean, like if you're going to use one of these things, you might as well go as far as you fucking can, right? Like
it wasn't that okay. Like the first half of this movie, not even first half, maybe just the first third. I didn't mind it as much because at least they were trying with some of the fights. Like even if everything looked plasticky, the fight with Scorpion and Sub-Zero, like they tried to incorporate his move where he goes backwards and turns into like that frozen replica of him. And then with the Sonya fight, they did it was really annoying in how like they kind of manufactured how it would happen, but at least they tried to do her kiss of death thing.
Oh my god, yeah. So Sonya gets to Hawaii to find her partner Jax, who has robot arms and is also a weird handsy kind of creep with every woman that he comes across in this movie. But yeah, so Cyrax, who's like a robot thing, shows up and has a fight with them. And you're right, this kiss of death thing, it looks like she kind of blows sand at this guy and he explodes for some reason because she kicked him into a pipe. It's like question mark, what the fuck is this meant to be? I don't know.
Yeah, we were wondering about that too. We're like, is there something with the sand? Is that not regular sand? Is that like poison sand? Is that
highly explosive sand? I don't know. Combustible sand? It's fucking weird.
There's a point where like I was just trying to see how they're going to shoehorn the actual fatalities in their moves, because like the yellow cyber character, like I think that was one of his moves when he like spit out this like thing that disintegrates you into like bone.
Okay.
They incorporate it. Like I think they were trying really hard to like give the fan service, but they just forgot about like the thing called like a plot and character motivations.
Yeah, and believable dialogue and you know all of the rest. But you know, well, fair play to them for at least playing up to.
We kind of skirted past this with believable dialogue, but if you look on YouTube, Mortal Kombat Annihilation is infamous for this one line from Sindel where Katana sees her mother coming back to life and she's just like, "Mother, you're alive?" And then Sindel responds like, "Too bad, you will die." And it's like written as like, people say it's the worst line ever, but like I think it's the best thing of this movie.
Oh my god. I mean, yeah, we didn't really talk about her, but Sindel is like Shao Kahn's henchwoman, I guess. She's played by a woman that looks like Aubrey Plaza.
That would be I would like see all the Parks and Rec cast do this movie. That would be a fun time.
Hell yeah. We get Chris Pratt as Johnny Cage and he can piece out of the movie 5 minutes in as well, please. Ron Swanson as Raiden. Yes, please.
Like, I know you guys didn't enjoy this movie, I say, as much as I did.
I mean, enjoy seems like a real stretch.
There's a point though. There's two things I do kind of when like I'm losing interest, or like I can play my own little game when watching kind of these bad movies. Like there's one for this movie where like it became a point where like as it kept going, I was like, well, that's illogical, and it kind of get fun like trying to point that out, because again, there's so many scenes in this movie where like, what? That makes no entire sense at all. Like I'm sure you had that as well. Like when Liu Kang goes and loses Katana, he like goes to meet up with Nightwolf, and what made me laugh so freaking much was that he has to fight this person named Nightwolf, and then it's nighttime. A wolf suddenly attacks him, and then he goes, "Who are you?" I was like, okay. First off, it's like this is why you're hard to root for, because like you ask like the most basic things that even the audience will get. You're just like super lost, and so that's kind of how I started watching this movie, just like pointing out the plot holes, because like immediately after that it talks about like these are the three things, because thematically this movie is all about finding his like going through 3 steps, and it made no sense to me. Like first he has to do a test of courage, which is going through like a dream state. And then the second was being able to pass like someone being really heavily seductive. Like, super confusing movie.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is pretty built for doing a really good drinking game. I think you're right. I think that if you, like, picked apart all of the moments that just you're kind of slapping your forehead in disbelief, you could probably have a pretty solid drinking game out of this one.
Yeah, because then you could ask, like, all right, I guess Liu Kang is also a dick because he doesn't even ask where Nightwolf went. He just kind of, like, brushes, like, this person that's going to help him is the key to him saving the world. It's like, oh, this woman shows up. First off, this is my only rant, is that the women and how they portray Asian women in this is like the worst.
Oh, is this the Jade character?
Yeah, the test of time.
Jade,
She literally shows up, takes off her robe, and I'm like, all right, this is the trash moment of the movie.
Yeah, and also the Native American representation from Nightwolf is also not great in this movie.
But I think it actually is played with someone that like is Native American.
Yeah,
so at least it doesn't do the whole thing where they like have freaking Johnny Depp.
God,
at least it's not that. But then, did you guys how'd you bide your time watching this movie? Because it looks like you kind of pieced out or hated it. Because what I tended to do was like, there's that centaur guy and like the girl with all the arms. So in my head, I try to be like, there's some sexual tension between these two people. So like,
you're literally just rewriting this movie on the fly. It's great.
We were talking about that too.
There was sexual tension, right?
Yes. We were like, he has as many legs as she has arms almost, or like we were discussing how he wears pants or how she wears coats.
Oh yes.
I don't know. I was kind of just distracted by the fact that this centaur guy kind of looks a bit like the actor Paul Gleason, who was the principal character in The Breakfast Club, and he's in like Die Hard and Trading Places. I was like, did they cast Paul Gleason as a centaur? But no, it's not. I get what you're saying, Roddy, about like how you kind of have to make your own fun with this movie because it's so like insipid on like every level that you've got to get something out of watching it, right?
I think my problem with it is that I guess you could say my favorite genre of movie is mindless action.
Sure.
So of all the movies to be just dumb fun, this was not it. And, you know, I've defended the Fast and Furious franchises. I love the kaiju movies. I just like exploding action nonsense. So when Mortal Kombat has progressively worse fight scenes,
it does.
When they throw away all of their, you know, characters, all of their moves, nobody really gets to stand out at any point. It's really disappointing and it's really disheartening because I wanted to cheer it on so bad, but every time I gave it an inch, it took a mile.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the problem here, is this movie just isn't any fun. There's no fun in this movie. Like, the first movie has such a simple structure. There's a tournament. Y'all got to fight in the tournament. There's some wacky villains you're going to have to fight. And then you're going to save the world at the end of it. And, you know, on the fly, you'll reconcile with your dead brother and all of this kind of shit. But it's straightforward and it's fun. And it moves at a good pace. It has escalation. It has stakes. This movie just has none of that. And despite the fact that the world is, like, under threat in this film, it just feels like everybody's just kind of dragging their heels.
I mean, I guess like the stakes is hard to buy when when they show the worlds emerging, and it looks like the most fakest superimposed like Paris. Like there's a scene where like we have taken over the world now, and it shows Paris with all his army, and all I could think like, why is it so purple? Like, why was this the color choice?
You have the Eiffel Tower. Congrats.
Yeah, great. I mean, Vegas has got one of those too. Relax.
Yeah.
Laura mentioned one of the things that I felt like it was trying to do, but failed gloriously in execution, was like what Fast and Furious does really well, and to the point where like they make fun of it, is a whole notion like, this is my family. Don't you dare mess with my family. And this movie tries to do that too, where like, you guys gotta work together. Only when you work together will you be able to defeat Shao Kahn. And like that thread is like nothing in this movie.
Okay. Is it canon that Raiden and Shao Kahn are brothers? Like, is that actually in the gamerverse?
No idea.
That completely caught me off guard because I was I looked away and then I heard Shao Kahn is my brother, and I was just no. Did they do why?
Wait, that caught you off guard? What caught me off guard more than that is when Raiden showed up with a haircut.
Yes. Yes, that was... I literally wrote in my notes that the most intriguing part of this movie is that somehow Raiden has stopped along his journey to save the world to get a fucking haircut.
Amazing.
He got a makeover. He was like, I changed my outfit. And it's like,
showing
good
off
for
my
you.
arms.
Did you lose the wig? Like, what happened?
Do you think James Remar just said, I'm not wearing this fucking itchy-ass wig any longer? Just fucking bleach my hair and let me have at it.
The wardrobe trailer burned to the ground or something. I don't know.
With his new introduction, what floored me was, okay, in the beginning of this movie, I was like, okay, guys, chill with the lightning, because it just kept on doing lightning.
No, that's Raiden.
But then when they show Raiden come back, I guess it's because he has no, they did thunder, so that doesn't explain it. He literally, I had to like, I literally stopped the movie and freeze framed it because his introduction was so odd. It's like he just pops in with no special effect. So like if you freeze frame it, it's so funny because you get to see like this tiny little ball of him that just pops up and becomes his full form. And I was like, this is hilarious.
Yeah, this whole Rain thing, like this reveal that he's Shao Kahn's brother is like, you didn't want to mention that earlier on in the movie, guy. It's kind of an asshole move.
It's all about family. They were saving it.
Yeah.
Also, I'm kind of upset that not once did he have his pointy hat.
Exactly. Christopher Lambert wears the fucking hat in the first movie, right? He doesn't have the hat at all in this one.
It's always been the hat. That is Raiden. He uses that as a fucking like throwy saw thing in so many of his fatalities.
And I mean, they totally stole that character design from Big Trouble in Little China, but that's another. And also Raiden dies not long after this as well.
Yeah,
like he gets wiped out, and it's just like a massive collective shrug from everybody. Nobody fucking cares that he's gone. Everybody just gets on with their business.
Fun fact: his stunt guy was Ray Park.
Oh man, fucking Darth Maul himself. What happened to that guy? I haven't seen him in a while. I mean, I guess spoilers for Solo. I guess he rocks up at the end of Solo as Darth Maul again. But
yeah, it looks like he's done more acting since then than stunt stuff.
Oh really? Because he was in that first X-Men movie playing Toad as well, and then I guess he was in like a couple of kind of action. Oh wait, is he in Ballistic X vs. Sever? I kind of think he might be.
So are you saying that Ray Park did all his somersaults? Because I guess that makes sense.
Probably.
That was his job on the credits. Somersaults by Ray Park.
What kind of what annoyed me about this film, it's funny, I say how much I enjoyed this, but how many times the word annoyed that's coming out of my mouth was probably more. But okay, the fact that they managed to go to, like, they actually went to Jordan, and I felt like the disrespect for them to scream and destroy it. I was like, how? Yeah. I'm annoyed at this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they actually destroyed a mesa, but it is pretty hard to watch.
Yeah, and there's a shot of the World Trade Center as well appearing in Outworld that I was kind of like, oh, did Shao Kahn do 9/11? I don't know.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, the location budget for this movie must have been pretty high because they were filming in such glorious places as Jordan and Thailand and Wales, but whatever.
Wales.
Wait, where was Wales?
I'm not sure where. I think Wales is where Sonya has the mud pit fight, I think.
Oh my gosh. When that was happening, I was just like, is this what we're doing? Oh, this is what we're doing. All right.
Yeah, that whole scene is dumb as all hell. And then Jax being like, you look good in mud. And then later on, he gets like, when he meets Jade, he's all like putting his arm around her and stuff. I'm like, ew, please don't.
His emotional threat, did you like his whole thing that was Shoehorn where like, it's not the arms, it's like his like bio enhanced arms are not what make the man, something like that.
Yeah,
I was like, all right, I guess that's his arc.
It really is his arms that make the man, because anybody that ever plays Jax in the game is picking him because he got them big ass robot arms, right? Like,
yeah, because somebody was like, you should use your regular arms, or you should use your regular power, and it's like, why?
No, dude, you have robot arms, for fuck's sake.
Okay,
he engineered his own robot arms, presumably. Give him some credit.
The twist, though, with his whole arc is that when he actually takes off his arms, I was like, they look like they were just like pasted on. You would think something that's so high tech would be so much more ingrained into the musculature of his body, but he puts it like it's one of those like arm sleeve tattoos, those fake ones that he puts on. And I was like, this is ridiculous.
The guy playing, I mean, look, none of the acting in this movie is going to win anybody an Academy Award, but the guy playing Jax was especially bad, I thought.
Yeah.
And then I looked him up, and this dude was on like American Gladiators for 4 years playing Saber. Kind of like that's his biggest acting credit, is he was a gladiator. Oof.
Maybe I missed it, but I wish they did more with Baraka, because I always thought that was...
Oh, God, yeah!
Yeah.
One of my favorite characters from the games, Baraka, he shows up and I was like, finally, like, something cool is happening in this film. For those that don't know, Baraka is like a kind of... He looks like the Silence from Doctor Who, or the Gentleman from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and he has, like, blades attached to his arms, and he does that fucking awesome move in the game where he, like, chops a dude up with the blades. It's awesome. He does nothing in this movie. He shows up, has like a little scuffle with Liu Kang, and then gets tossed in some fire, and that is it.
Yeah, they kind of give up towards the end with all of the fights. Because, like, Baraka, like, how many people have died by just throwing them off into the fire pit? Because, like, that's the most unexciting way for a game that's known for its fatalities.
Sure.
That's the most unexciting fatality.
They can't even do the thing that you used to be able to do where somebody uppercuts somebody and they, like, fucking go off the level and fall into, like, a pit of acid or a bed of spikes. They don't even bother doing any of that shit in this film.
No, I think that they don't use their environments very well. They don't use their characters very well. They don't use the storyline very well.
No,
it's
exactly.
just...
It kind of reminds me of how I felt when watching X-Men The Last Stand 3. Because it has a similar thing where characters just kind of show up just to serve the plot, and the same thing, like Shiva or whatever, the girl with the arm shows up and like literally she just says a witty pun, not even witty, just a line of dialogue, let's just call it what it is, and then just like she gets crushed by the cage, and I was like, that's how she's gonna go. This girl that has these muscular arms that look like she could lift so many things will die because of a cage that she probably could have lifted.
Monty Python style.
Is X-Men 3 an episode? That might be an episode.
Oh my god.
I mean, I don't really want to fucking talk about Brett Ratner.
The thing about that movie that really got me is the Juggernaut joke.
Oh, I'm the Juggernaut bitch. Yeah.
I'm the Juggernaut bitch, and I turned to my boyfriend at the time, and I was like, that meme is like less than 6 months old, and he was like, they only finished the movie like really, really recently.
Oh yeah. I mean,
I was like, what?
That one had a pretty checkered production history as well, but. But like I say, I don't know if I can stomach talking about Brett Ratner, but I guess we might do Rush Hour 2 at some point as well, so... This movie is not violent enough, right? Like,
it's not gory enough. We need something on the level of like Temple of Doom gore in this.
I mean, I don't even think that. I think just go full hard R with this. So the first movie was PG-13, and people were kind of like, oh, I don't want a Mortal Kombat that's PG-13. And you know what? It worked out fine, because it was a fairly straightforward fantasy adventure movie. You could kind of forgive it for not having like spurts of gore going all over the place. This one doesn't have any of that charm, so it needs something else as its hook. To have like this be a bloodbath would have probably made the fights a little more fucking...
But to your argument, though, wasn't the newest Mortal Kombat a hard R, and people just also hated that? To be fair, the reasons why people hated it, the fact that it has no actual Mortal Kombat, is a big one.
I mean, yeah, okay. I was going to get to this, like, in a moment, but yeah, now that you bring it up, that Mortal Kombat reboot that came out this year, I think you're saying people didn't like it. People liked it. Like, that thing, audiences seem to lap that movie up.
Shit, really? I remember just seeing a friend going like, why is there no Mortal Kombat in this?
I mean, that friend may be me, dude, because that was my major complaint about that fucking movie was it's the whole fucking Simpsons when do we get to the fireworks factory thing, and they never get to the fireworks factory because they spend the whole movie talking about how important it is that all these people are going to go fight in Mortal Kombat, and then they never fucking get to the tournament in the movie. The movie ends before they even get to Outworld. It's fucking ridiculous. But that said, the fights are pretty competently staged, and they do not skimp on the violence in that movie. You have a lot of these kind of finishing moves. There's people getting sawed in half. There's all kinds of crazy shit going on in that film. So yeah, structurally that film kind of sucks, but it feels more like a Mortal Kombat movie than this does.
What year did the Spawn movie come out?
Exactly the same year as this one. Funny you should mention that, because those effects are pretty much on the level with each other.
Yeah, because Spawn was another one that A, should have been more violent in keeping with the brand, and B, didn't really have the right effects to pull it off.
I mean, that Spawn movie looks like utter fucking ass nowadays. I mean, also a New Line Cinema movie, so probably the same effects house that did the Mortal Kombat effects as well. Anyway, the movie fucking climaxes with Liu Kang and Shao Kahn turning into a couple of CGI dragons, which, you know, again, Spawn effects.
Yep.
I mean, they just ran out of money, right? They must have run out of money at this point, because they're only these like CGI dragons for 30 seconds, and they have like a quick tumble, and then they have to turn back into like their regular form. And I get it, it's Mortal Kombat, right? So you got to be mortal to do it. But they just clearly fucking ran out of money, or just stopped giving a fuck about it a long time ago.
Well, you're talking about the fight scene, but they spent so much effort to be like, yes, let's pair them up with each one. Like, it wasn't even like the whole notion of it being like a team to fight as a team and as a family, but then how it ends is each one of them individually fighting one person.
Exactly. And it ends with Liu Kang just basically backflip kicking Shao Kahn and winning for, you know, in a move that would maybe knock out a few teeth, but it doesn't feel like a very definitive way to defeat your fucking enemy, to just like kick him over on a staircase.
It was a backward somersault, so it was very fitting.
It was, but it didn't feel like Shao Kahn died or anything as a result of it, you know. And that basically kills the baddie, wins the game, ends the movie, except the order is restored. All of these landmarks end up going back to where they belong. Raiden magically comes back to life and ascends to take his place in Mortal Kombat Heaven or fucking whatever, I don't know. I'd so tapped out by this point, I couldn't have cared any less about anything that was happening. And that's kind of the end of the movie, apart from the fact that I noticed on the credits that this movie is dedicated to Nicholas.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Nicholas.
Yeah, who the fuck is Nicholas?
Don't know who Nicholas is, but I hope he haunts the people behind this film every day for adding his name to this fucking trash.
We said that too. We're like, poor Nicholas.
You do not want this to be your fucking legacy. And that's Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Guys, would you recommend this particular motion picture to anyone?
If you create your own set of drinking rules, it'll be a blast.
No. I would not.
That was such a hard no. You're like, you start off like playful, like, oh, maybe she will recommend it. Then no, it was just a no.
No.
Fuck no. It's just so like, it's one of those super boring sequels that it's like, just watch the.
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo that. Look, I've said it a few times when we've done movies, but I genuinely think this is the worst movie we've done on the show in terms of just like being an inept production, at least. And I know I hated Mamma Mia, but at least. Yeah. A little bit of thought went into it beforehand, right?
Yeah.
I hated Twilight, but at least I understood what it was trying to do. This is just an absolute waste of everyone's time. I couldn't stand this film. And I don't understand the drop-off in quality between the first film and the second film. It's such a sharp plummet for a movie that came out literally 2 years later and retained at least some of the same people behind the scenes. But I think Paul W.S. Anderson has gone on record and said he regrets not doing this movie because he dislikes it so much that he felt like it tarnished the legacy of the original a little bit. The movie Paul Anderson made instead of this, though, was Event Horizon, which, for all its problems, is a way better movie, you know? I mean, Event Horizon ain't perfect. It's got a lot of issues, but at least it's fucking watchable.
Yep.
So yeah, no, fuck this film. That was our episode on Mortal Kombat Annihilation from the year 1997, directed by John R. Leonetti. Next week on the show...
You've heard of Kerry White, haven't you? 73 people died night of the prom.
Next semester...
Rachel!
Terror...
Dude, it's her! It's her doing it!
Runs in the family. The Rage Carry 2.
I'm enthralled. I can't wait.
Until then, we have been Bad with Numbers from Toronto, Canada. You can find us on Twitter at Bad Numbers Pod. We're on Insta at BWM Pod. Email the show at bwmpod@gmail.com. Take it easy. Stay safe out there. Goodbye.
Bye.
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 It's official. You suck. You suck. You suck. You suck. You suck.